guys, how's it going? Today we're going to be dealing with spent bulbs in pots. On this plant stand right behind me, we have a bunch of containers full of hyacinth bulbs. They bloomed a couple of weeks ago, their foliage is starting to die back, so now we need to decide what to do with them. And it's going to be the same process whether you have hyacinth bulbs in containers or daffodils or tulips or whatever. It kind of goes the same for any of those fall planted bulbs that bloom in the spring. Let me give you kind of a close-up look here. You can see this one was an apricot. We had a mix of Carnegie, Gypsy Queen, and Etouffee in here. Ooh, some of them are ready to get out of the container. First of all, if you're growing bulbs in containers and want to treat them as an annual, there's nothing wrong with that. We usually have pretty good luck finding homes for our bulbs with friends or family if we don't want to take the time to plant them in the ground. But if you want to toss them in your compost pile or pitch them, there's nothing wrong with that at all. Especially with those type of bulbs, there's a lot of varieties of tulips, and especially in warmer climates, that aren't good at naturalizing. They don't come back from year to year very well, so a lot of people treat them as annuals anyway. But things like hyacinths for us and daffodils, those things are really good at naturalizing and coming back for us year after year. So I always like to try to get them in the ground if we have time to do that. So what we're gonna do is take these bulbs outside. We're gonna take them out of the container, remove some of the soil, and we're gonna plant them like we normally would. The difference here is that typically when we force bulbs like this, we don't bury them as deep as they need to be buried outside. See, like on this one, you can see the neck of the bulb, but hyacinth bulbs, when they're planted outside, need to be 4 to 6 inches deep, which means when we plant this today, we will be putting it underneath the soil surface about this far. The other thing are leaves. You do want to make sure if they still have green in their leaves to leave the leaves on. And you can wait to do the whole planting process until they've all died back and you clean the tops off, and then you can go pop the bulbs outside. But I'm ready for something new in here, and you can go ahead and do it as soon as you can work that soil. You can get them outside, but you leave the leaves on until they yellow and die back. And the reason for that is kind of the natural life cycle of a bulb. The bulb comes up and blooms. After it's done blooming, you deadhead that stem out, but you leave the leaves so that those leaves can absorb sunshine, which turns into energy and then feeds the bulb so they can do the whole process the next year. And if they miss that important step, if you cut those leaves off too early, you'll get a weaker show, or the bulb may not have enough energy to do it the following year. So this is going to be an interesting process because we've had rain for like the past 2 days, so the ground is going to be pretty soggy. But let's take one of these outside and kind of dissect it, and I'll show you the bulbs. Here are the other ones. I already have them piled out here. These are the ones that were sitting in the cold frame still. So let's see what we've got in here. Yeah, they come out easy. They look really good. Really good. So we'll dig our hole 4 to 6 inches deep, which means, we'll be planting up to here. We'll toss a little bulb tone in the hole and just get them all planted. Did I have a tag? Yeah. I'm going to try to keep all of the like varieties together so I know what colors I'm planting where. Okay, so we're gonna gather up all the bulbs. I'm going to take them all out of their pots, get them in their appropriate baskets based on variety. We're gonna grab our auger, our bulb tone, and we're gonna head out. All right, well, we've got all of our bulbs ready, but Benjamin's not ready to leave the dirt mound yet. You want to dig for just a couple more minutes? Yep. Okay, look at the roots on these bulbs. Oh my goodness. You can see I've got my auger here. auger my drill, and then I couldn't find our bulb tone. We might be out, so I just grabbed rose tone because I had an open bag, and that'll work. Okay, we're out here in the south garden. I'm thinking right in here might be a good spot to put the whites, the Carnegies, because we've got, not that they'd be blooming at the same time, but we've got pink tulips. We've got some, here's the Scilla, you guys, that we planted in, what, January? And it's just about ready, some of them, to open. Oh, I'm so excited. Anyway, it's easy to see right now where everything's popping up, so I won't accidentally run into anything. I'm thinking a nice big drift of the whites right in here would be really nice. Let me count how many we have. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. There are 42 of the white ones, which means we need to dig 42 holes, but I wanted to show you really quick what I will do on bulbs like this. See, this leaf isn't going to soak up much more energy at all, so I just pop the leaf off, and that's what we will be planting. Same with this one right here. Pop the leaf off, and this one's good to go. But then again, on ones like this, we're just going to plant them. We'll let the leaves soak up a little bit more sunshine. They won't last that much longer. And then we will cut them off at ground level. Tool of choice. This might be a total muddy mess. I don't know. But this auger right here, it's a 30-inch auger, so I can make 42 holes whilst standing. It's so nice. And then I can just run through, pour some fertilizer in each one of them, and then I toss the bulbs in. So there's only one time where I have to get all the way down to the ground to plant these. It's really wonderful. So let's do it. Carnegies are in. You can more or less see kind of how they're going to come up next year, minus they're a little bit patchy because, you know, some of the bulbs don't have leaves on top. So where you see big gaps, there's actually like 3 bulbs in there, a couple bulbs right over here, and so on and so forth. And hyacinths do really well, and they tend to spread for us. So anyway, this should be a really pretty patch for years to come. Let's put the etouffee right down here. Done with the etouffees, which they are a blend of 4 different pastel colors. So I think like 3 pastels, and then one's a little bit deeper. You can see that it's more of like a deeper purpley blue. So we've got a patch of them here, a patch here, a little one back there, one here, and then I ended it off with a little grouping of 3. I like to do irregular groupings of bulbs. They tend to look a little bit more natural while they're still in the same general area. So you see them blooming all at the same time, so they stay very effective that way. I mean, like, it's very eye-catching or striking, but it looks a little bit more natural than having them all grouped in one big bunch, which I do plant them like that as well. That's how we planted them around the Hartley. I do that on the west side occasionally, around the maple trees. It kind of just depends on where I'm putting the bulbs. Gypsy Queens are going over there. And there are the Gypsy Queens. I love that they have just a hint of color left. None of the blooms are prime, but just enough color to where it gives you an idea of what they may look like next year. Of course, they'll be much more vibrant and fresh when they're in peak bloom, but they start here by the crabapple and kind of go behind the shrubs and end right there. And we'll be focusing a lot on this area this next year, so next spring we should have a really nice backdrop behind them, not a bunch of empty space. You can also plant your bulbs much closer together than I did. I want to say there's a good 7-8 inches between each of these bulbs. Don't quote me, but I think the spacing's 5 to 6 inches. It could be like 4 to 5 inches. I'm not positive. But they do naturalize here. They spread a bit. It does take them a while, but they're very faithful at coming back every single year, so I'm not super worried about that. Also, when you're using the auger, oftentimes I will do my holes a lot closer together, but the auger does kick the soil from the hole next to it into the hole that you're working on, or vice versa. Anyway, it can be just a little bit harder to see where you've used the auger and made your holes. So that's it for this project. We put roughly 150 bulbs in the ground, just shy of that maybe, but it's the same process for tulips, daffodils, hyacinths, whatever bulbs you've put in pots to enjoy for spring color. You follow the same process for planting them in the ground as you normally would, just making sure to leave those leaves on so that they can gather up energy for the next season. Okay, I actually have a little time left. I thought this project was going to take me a lot longer. I do need to thin some snapdragon seedlings, so I think we'll head to the studio and get that done. Okay, we are here in the studio where I do have several flats of seeds going, as well as in the greenhouse, and I've been slowly working on thinning my seedlings, which is super important. Typically I do 2 seeds per cell unless they're snapdragons and the seeds are tiny, and I end up just kind of sprinkling the seeds throughout the flat. And I want to make sure that we end up with just 1 plant per cell, because I don't want all those plants fighting for nutrients, fighting for light. We'll have stronger seedlings if we just have 1 per cell. So here are 3 flats of snapdragons. I've thinned this flat already, so you can see we just have 1 per. We're going to be pinching these when they get a little bit taller. So once they get about this tall, we'll pinch the plant, and that'll make them really branchy and more dense. This one I have thinned. This one we need to thin. Look at how much more thick this is. Oh my goodness. I've got my snips right here, and what I do is I just go in, determine the strongest looking seedling, and cut one of them out, or multiple of them out. If I see that there is a cell without one, I will carefully, pulling isn't the best way, it's best to take them out of their cell. Let me set my camera down so I can do that. So best thing to do, oh, I doubled up on that seed tray, look at that. Popping this one out of its cell. We're just going to gently pull them apart. Now we can take this one, pot it back into the cell where it came from, and then we'll put the second one right in here. Make sure to water especially those ones in really well. So I think I have time to tackle this flat and maybe 2 more, so let's get after it. Here's what I'm left with from 6 flats. We got 6 done today. So there's the first one we did. Then we did this one and this one. We also took after the flats of Status, which were so thick. Looks so much better. There's the second flat of Status. And then I guess this only counts as half a flat. I haven't had any of the Rottnest daisies sprout yet. I had to take the humidity dome off though because the sage had sprouted. So that's something to consider when you're doubling up in a tray. And I don't know if the Rottnest daisies are going to do anything or not. I've never grown them before, But now we've got a sage in every single cell, which is really nice. The only things that we have left are things I want to separate. So this is the Mahogany Splendor hibiscus and the Rosella hibiscus. And you can see we've got 2 per cell, so I'd like to take those out to the greenhouse later and get those separated. Same with our new look Dusty Miller. They look so healthy, so good. And that is it for today, you guys. Thank you so much for watching this video and hanging out with me today. Really happy with the progress we made, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.